So right now, as our app is growing here, we've got a lot of stuff that's in our Babel file. So I'm going to actually take this out and set up webpack. And the way that I'm going to do this is, first of all, I'm going to install, let's kill this for a second. I'm going to end up installing webpack and webpack CLI. Those are the two things that I need here. And I'm going to do save dev because I don't need it when my app is running. I just need it to end up transpiling my files. And again, webpack is going to end up getting used with Babel, so I can end up separating things out into separate components. And let's get this installed. So I've got this installed, and I'm going to actually put in a script here. This is now showing up as a dev dependency. There's other ones we're going to need as well. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put in a webpack command. And the webpack command is just going to run webpack, right? And the reason why this works is that when I do it from npm run, it looks in the bin folder for the node modules. It'll find that executable. And I'm going to do npm run webpack. First thing that's going to happen, it's going to tell me, hey, look, by default, it looks for an index file in source. Doesn't exist. I'm going to create it. These are going to be my files before they end up getting transpiled. And now I'm going to run this again. Now this will end up running, but what I really want to do is I want to take all my code that's here, which is, again, getting a little bit long, and I'd like to be able to separate it out. I'm going to take all this code, and I'm going to go over here and go to my source and paste it in here. So I've got all this code that's here. And when I run my webpack, I'm going to actually run it with a watch flag. So let's go over here. When we run webpack, we'll run it with a watch flag. Let's try this again. And here I'm going to run into a problem because this, I don't have any Babel set up, so webpack doesn't know how to transpile this. And I'm going to use a combination of Babel and also Babel presets. So I'm going to create a file, webpack config.js. And here, again, you could copy and paste this from somewhere if you do this a lot. It's not the hardest thing to set up. This is module, and, and this is going to be an object. But within the object, I'm going to have rules. And one of the rules is going to say, hey, look, if I encounter a file that ends with JS, it's a regular expression for .js, then I'm going to use a loader, which is going to be the Babel loader. And also I want to exclude, so it goes a little bit faster, any node modules that it ends up encountering. So now if I go and run this, let's try this again, I'm going to get a different message that it can't find the Babel loader, so I'm going to install that. Again, this is a dev dependency. And now we're up to 3 libraries that we have for webpack. Try this one more time. And now, if I look at this, I'll see, well, wait a second. You got the Babel loader. You need Babel core. It needs Babel itself. Again, save dev. This will install. I'll run this one more time. And now I'm going to be back at an error, but it's a little bit of a different error. This is now coming from Babel. And so what I really need to do here is actually tell Babel, hey, Babel, by the way, I want you to use the React preset. Okay? Babel without presets really doesn't mean all that much. Presets and plugins, or the two of them. Presets are just basically combinations of plugins. And what I'm going to end up doing here, I'm going to put this right in my package.json. Some people put it in a Babel RC file. I don't know if there's a strong opinion one way or the other, as long as you have it. And the presets here, and this has to be an array, and this has to be a string, and this is going to be Babel, and it's going to be the React presets. And now if I go to run this, I'll end up getting an error, and the error is going to be, wait a second, I'm trying to find the Babel preset React. You need that as well. So npm install Babel preset React again, save dev. You don't have to go through this every time. You could have your modules listed somewhere, but it's kind of good to go through this at least a few times. And now, it'll end up building this. It's giving me a little bit of an error that I should set a mode on it. So let me make that error go away by going to my webpack config, my package.json, and going over here and saying that the mode equals development. Because that's what it does in development. Now, that error goes away and it's still watching. Now that file ends up getting compiled by default into a folder. And this folder is dist main. So in order to serve up this file, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to go back to my server, and I'm just going to make a directory here. Not a directory. I'm going to put a endpoint here. Middleware, I should say. And I'm going to say, hey, look, if you end up coming in with /dist, I'm going to see if I can find what you're looking for. And I want to find you within a folder, and I'm going to use path.join, directory name, and this is going to be, it ends up, it's the dist folder that I'm looking at, 1, 2, 3. And now what I could end up doing is that I could go back to my index.html page. I could take out this code, and I could go in here and put in a script, make sure it's at the bottom, and this is going to be source, and this is going to be dist, so if anything comes in with dist, it's going to look to see if it can find it in that folder. I've got that main.js file here. And what I'm going to do here is that instead of just having webpack run, I'm going to go in my package.json and I'm going to do a start dev. And my start dev is going to be, hey, look, npm run webpack. Okay? And I'm just doing one of these because that has this watch flag in it. I'm also going to run nodemon with the server.js. But by the way, I'm going to tell nodemon, hey, look, nodemon, ignore anything in the dist folder because it has nothing to do with the server. And ignore anything in the source folder because, again, that has nothing to do with the server as well. And now I'm going to be able to go over here and run npm run start dev. Everything will end up building. If I go over here to localhost 3000, let's take a quick look here. So here we run into a problem. This is pretty common. One here is that now I put this at the top. I've got to defer this. And this will work the same way that it did before. Right? I'm making calls over to my server. I can see that happening here. The last thing that I want to do here is that if I look at git.status, I'll see my node modules folder. I'll also see my dist folder. And this folder is not something that I really want to have. It's not really my code. It's transpiled code. Sure, the stuff in the source folder is my code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up echoing node modules into my git ignore. And if I do git.status, I'll still see my dist folder there, but I'm going to echo again dist into my git ignore as well. Now if I look at git.status, I'll see that neither one of those files is there, and I could add both of these in, and I could run my application. And probably the last thing you want to do in terms of getting your app set up, well, there's two things, but one of them is that when you end up deploying your application, there's going to be a post-install step, and you probably just want to end up running webpack for that post-install step. So when you push things up to Roku, it'll end up running this code.